Hi church family, this is Dan Olson. I'm here with Velma Hansen, and we want to introduce you to the theme of this year's missions conference. What's your story? I know that Velma and her husband Lori have been involved with missions for a long time here at our church and around the world, literally. And I wanted you to get a feeling for what their story is. Velma, how long have you been involved with missions? How old were you the first time you thought about missions?
Well, I think my mom and dad had missionaries stay in our home, but I can remember specifically something that happened that made me focus on missions. I think I was about 15 years old, and my dad had a Bible study. And these missionaries, Emil and Daisy Pearson, came from Africa and lived in St. Louis Park on their furlough. And they came to my dad's Bible study. And I listened to them tell about their ministry, and I realized that they were really called of God to do this sacrificial mission in Africa. And I admired him for that. And yet at the same time, I knew that he was human, because when we had lunch one time, I said to him, I bet I can eat more sandwiches than you can. And he said, I bet you can't. He said, I'll take your challenge, let's race. And so do you know that he ate 12 half sandwiches that night, but I ate 13. And so then I put those two things together when I was 15 years old, that missionaries are called by God, but they also have a human side that we can focus on.
And how did that incident and others lead you to be involved in missions over the last number of years?
I guess I'd like to know a missionary on a personal basis. And one way of doing that is not only listening to their story, but also to get them involved in something that they need or want. For example, when I was president of the Women's Guild here at First Baptist Church, I remember writing, that was before the days of email, I remember writing to each of the missionaries to ask them exactly what we could do for them, that we didn't have to guess, but that they would tell us. And so I learned how important it was to make and do things for missionaries that they needed exactly. I think my husband, as you probably know, did cement work, and it was always, we always had to take our vacation in the winter. And I can remember the one year that he came up from his desk in the basement and he said, Velma, you know, it's just about time that we can go on vacation. Would you like to go to Florida or to California? And I said, I wonder if there's some place we can go where we could do something for somebody. And he knew exactly the person to call, and said, I'll make 2 calls, one to Colombia, one to Panama for Wycliffe Bible translators, and we'll see which is most needful for cement work. And so that resulted in our going to Panama, taking some of our family with us. Some of our church members here went with us. We went 5 times to Panama. Lori did cement work all that time. I did cooking mostly for the work crew. We went to Colombia one year, and Lori built a teen center. And we went to Haiti, and Lori built a greenhouse. And I remember, and I learned how to prune tomatoes so that the plants stay quite small, but the tomatoes really grow nice. And so it was not only a helpful time for us, but a learning time. And the missionaries on each of these bases became very personal friends of ours. And that was a real plus.
Wow. And now you mentioned your kids. How old were your kids when you started going on these trips? Were they adults already? Were they young?
Our 2 older kids had graduated from high school and probably were in college, and our youngest son went with us to Panama. He was in maybe a senior in high school.
That's great. I imagine that's also affected your giving over the years. Have you found ways to incorporate missions giving in with the rest of your giving?
Our focus is on missions, I have to admit, and we do send each month some financial help to a couple of the missionaries that are supported here by First Baptist, and also in our offering for the church designated part of it for missions. We feel a burden for doing that. If we know and love the missionaries, we want to support them, especially financially.
Okay. Do you have anything else you'd like to share with the church family about missions?
Well,
or to
I
encourage-
guess what I'd like to say is that because I was raised in a home where there were missionaries, I can see the importance of involving young children in a home situation. Have a missionary come in and eat lunch with you, or have peanut butter sandwiches. They don't have to have steak all the time, but have your children get to know the missionaries as a person, and that will instill in them a love for missions.
Velma, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Appreciate your insight, and thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.